Story time. I'm Trista for Congress, Sheriff, and President 2028 if we have elections. And I'm putting together a 6-part series on how cops, Pima Animal so-called care center, and the district attorney's office carried out a campaign of malicious prosecution, defamation, and also the worst case of cruelty to animals ever in U.S. history by American authorities. Trigger warning, I'm going to go through the evidence like a police investigation that they should have done, and the local Gestapo staged some pretty horrific stuff, which implies that they were treated cruelly in police custody and pack custody. Now, I know it's hard to think of an animal welfare agency that is actually responsible for the worst case of animal cruelty in the United States, but that's exactly what happened. And in this 6-part series, I'm bringing the receipts. So hit that repost and smash like and follow before they send you away and continue suppressing the algorithm. In the meantime, TikTok keeps censoring me, so I am posting this all over the internet, all over my social media accounts, President Trista and Trista for Congress, on Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky, YouTube, TikTok, but not Twitter, which, by the way, we're going to take back along with SpaceX and Tesla. And you can see my 100 plus Congress ready resolutions on my Substack. Please feel free to copy and paste your favorite resolutions and send them to your Congress members and tell them to sponsor that. Let's get this party started. Anyway, it all started when I brought my hanky I arranged to have my hanky brought to a second vet for a recurring wounds from a pig bite. And I strongly advise against getting pigs as pets. They turn out to be the worst possible pet. At any rate, I rehomed the pig, but he bit my hanky, and it was a bot fly, basically. It was a bot fly. Here's the report from Inez. It was a biodermal mass, as it's described, and it was kind of like seeping blood. Okay, sorry, but that's what it was doing. And it looked kind of like a tumor. It was about an inch across. So I asked her to do a cancer test, and it was benign. As you can see, this is dated May 2nd, and I learned afterwards that she hadn't taken out what was a larva, and so in a few months' time, the biomass started to develop again. And I asked what I thought was a friend of 20 years, and I don't have a picture handy of her. I'm gonna go find them, because Beth Cummings and Zoe Skinner falsely reported me, which is a crime, bitches, ARS 132907.01. They misrepresented our relationship and claimed that I relinquished Hank to Zoe, which is not the case. Here I am asking Beth for a little help in getting what was her brother's dog that he had abandoned in somebody's basement, and she had brought him to me about 6 or 7 years previously. And there's a picture of her joyous and so happy and grateful that Hanky had a beautiful home such as mine. And so here it shows how I asked her for some help in finding another veterinarian, because I couldn't trust them. The first one, Inez, she wasn't showing up. And here it talks about how we spent hundreds of dollars for cones that he kept ripping off because he was so healthy and strong. So what did these bitches do? They falsely reported me and got all my other animals confiscated, cruelly seized, and taken from their happy home. They told them that I was not going to bring Hank to the vet, and he was actually at the veterinarian at that very moment. So prima facie, it's called. There is no case. As you can see here, my name is on Hank's microchip, and the veterinarian needs to be sued for malpractice for not contacting me. By law, she must contact the real owner, but Zoe had told her that I relinquished him to her. And these bitches commandeered my dog and had him put down without my informed consent, which is a crime, bitches. Here, according to Clarissa's own report, it says there was a maggot removed from the mass. It wasn't a maggot. If it were a maggot, there would have been many, many maggots, because that's how flies operates. They have a clutch of 150 to 200. But this was a misdiagnosed botfly that Inez also screwed up. Maybe she was trying to get some repeat customer, I guess, from having him go back to her, and because it's quite common apparently for veterinarians to be able to identify what's a botfly. Hanky had all the symptoms of a botfly infection. It was a slightly bleeding mass, one maggot, but Zoe and Beth, these bitches, kept calling PAC and authorities. And by the way, Beth is calling from Phoenix, and in the records she is aggravated because they won't take the report because she's in Phoenix. So she gets her stupid niece Zoe to call and tell the authorities that Hank's intestines are hanging out and his wound was full of maggots. Now, this investigation report is signed by a Clarissa Leyva Cañez of Pima Animal So-Called Care Center. And notice right here that it says she reported that a maggot was taken from the wound. So there is no excuse for repeating the false report that there were full of maggots. That is defamatory and false reporting, which is a crime, bitches. ARS 132907.01. And together, all of these people committed a horrific act of atrocity against the animal kingdom. These bitches were hell-bent for some reason on getting me put in jail and all my animals taken away, and they need to be held accountable for having swatted me. And then Clarissa Leyva Cañez is in conjunction with Detective Teddy Noon, which we will get into shortly. I'm carrying out the investigation that none of them wanted to do, because obviously they wanted to take away all my animals and defame me and frame me for animal cruelty for some reason. I'm demanding an investigation. I'm filing a $200 million notice of claim against Pima County, and I'm calling for the heads of the Pima Sheriff's Department and Pima Animal So-Called Care Center and Lord Conover's office to be removed pending this investigation. There were many, many other red flags that Clarissa must have seen. Here it says that there were lots of cats on the property. There was one. It says 30 birds. Actually, there was 125, but they were so well integrated into my garden as an award-winning ethnobotanist that stupid Zoe didn't notice. And here where it says, around 12 p.m., Detective Noon gave the order to impound due to the several violations observed on the property and previous probable cause, which says nothing. And also, this is smoking gun evidence. I have the receipts. Teddy and Clarissa lied in this report, which is a crime, bitches. ARS 132907.01. I've got the video taken by a Desert Storm veteran, therefore an unimpeachable, impeccable, reasonable, and credible investigator on the scene. This is just the tip of the iceberg in this botched, intentionally botched, malicious prosecution of me and my family and my animal family